Because they know the only way lies can dominate truth is that lies must be constant. Constant. Anytime lies stop, truth surfaces. So in their approach of constant lies to propagandize our people, we must take the approach of constant truth to propagandize our people, but we must be constant. Every child in this country over 8 years old knows about Coca-Cola. Yet Coca-Cola doesn't stop putting up signs or whistling jingles. So we must be as enthusiastic about winning our people over the struggle as Coca-Cola is about selling Cokes.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Tony Delerme, and thanks for tuning in to a brand new episode of You Must Learn, where on this video series we focus on doing the knowledge. So DTK is the motto, and on today's episode we're specifically going to focus on and get back to this great research paper written by William Darity Jr. and a host of others titled What We Get Wrong About Closing the Racial Wealth Gap. Now on today's episode we're specifically going to be focusing on myth number 9, which is titled The Growing Number of Black Celebrities Prove the Racial wealth gap is closing. Now what I want to do before we get too deep into this topic is go back to the introduction that I did read last week, but I want to read it again because this is what's going to set the tone for the rest of this discussion. Now let's get into it. The racial wealth gap is large and shows no signs of closing. Recent data from the Survey of Income and Program Participation shows that black households hold less than 7 cents on the dollar compared to white households. The white household living near the poverty line typically has about $18,000 in wealth, while black households in similar economic straits typically have a median wealth near zero. This means in turn that many black families have a negative net worth. At the other end of America's economic spectrum, black households constitute less than 2% of those in the top 1% of the nation's wealth distribution. White households constitute more than 96% of the wealthiest Americans. Moreover, even among the nation's wealthiest households, extreme differences persist on the basis of race. The 99th percentile black family is worth a mere $1.5 million, while the 99th percentile white family is worth over $12 million. This means over 870,000 white families have a net worth above $12 million, while out of the 20 million black families in America, fewer than 380,000 are even worth a single $1 million. By comparison, over 13 million of the total 85 million white families are millionaires or better. So now that we understand and have that basic understanding of the lack of black wealth that actually exists within this country, let's get straight into the topic and focus on these celebrities that have been portrayed and put forth to us as those that have made it. They've pulled themselves up by their bootstraps, they rose from nothing, and this is a sign of black progress in America, specifically as it pertains to finances and economics. But that is a fallacy. It is false, and we're going to explain that and break that down right now. Black celebrity has largely been placed at the vanguard of an imagined black achievement of affluence. While many of the wealthiest black Americans derive their fortunes from some form of entertainment, they frequently are portrayed as major corporate owners without ever making clear what their stake in percentage or control is in any given company. Some of the celebrities actually have low stakes in their investment companies. As an example, according to the Bloomberg article, Diego Turns to Dutch, Diddy Partnerships for Vodka Expansion, Sean Combs has been held out as an owner of Ciroc, but in actuality, he is a profit participant whose main hand is marketing, not in producing or financing the product. So in short, as it pertains to this paragraph that we just read, Diddy doesn't own Ciroc. Some of you might have known that already, but the majority of the people out there don't know that. He's part of the marketing team, and that's part of their marketing strategy to promote him as the owner of Ciroc when he's really just a global brand ambassador. It's a job. He's getting paid. He's not an owner. He's a worker. That's very important to understand, because he's often pushed forward as a boss. Now, it's not to take anything away from Diddy, because yeah, he does have businesses of his own, But this is very dangerous to continue to push these kind of illusions out, because what it does is that it creates this false sense of black progress. Oh my God, look at Diddy with this owning this gigantic vodka company. It's so amazing. It's black owned. Look at this black progress. No, it's false. Diddy doesn't own anything. Ciroc is owned by a Frenchman, not Diddy. Now let's keep going on even deeper, and what we're going to do is discuss and break down Magic Johnson's ownership of the Los Angeles Dodgers, as well as Jay-Z's former ownership of the New Jersey, or I should say the Brooklyn Nets, forgive me. Let's get into it. Earvin Magic Johnson also admitted on HBO Real Sports that he has only invested $50 million into the $2 billion purchase of the MLB's Los Angeles Dodgers, which according to Yahoo Sports works out to 2.3% of the team. Magic Johnson has a 2.3% stake in the ownership of the Los Angeles Dodgers. What does that mean? It means that he has absolutely no control of who's being signed, who's being traded, none of that. But the way it's promoted to us, especially living here in Los Angeles, when that first happened, it was being promoted heavily that Magic Johnson purchased the Los Angeles Dodgers. It was being heavily promoted in that manner, but it was fake. It's false. He invested $50 million in a $2 billion purchase. That's the equivalent, if I'm not mistaken, because if you shrink the number down, it makes it a little easier to process. Because when you're talking about $2 billion and $50 million, it all sounds like, oh my God, $50 million is still a lot of money, well, whatever. But let's really bring that down a notch. If the Dodgers were $2 million to purchase, 2% of $2 million, if I'm not mistaken, is $40,000. You see how when you drop the number down, it really brings things into perspective in terms of his contribution and his actual ownership. If the Dodgers cost $2 million to buy, Magic only put $40,000 down on it. Essentially, all he's doing is investing. That's it. He holds no real stake in the Dodgers. Therefore, he calls no shots. But it's promoted to you as if he actually owns the Dodgers when he doesn't. And this was the same thing that happened with Jay-Z purchasing the New Jersey, I keep saying New Jersey, the Brooklyn Nets. That was promoted to us heavily, that Jay-Z bought the Nets and he owns the Nets. And it was by his own admittance. Because if you remember during that time period, on almost every rap song, Jay-Z continued over and over and over again to say, I own the Nets, I own the Nets, I'm moving the Nets to Brooklyn, I'm moving the Nets to Brooklyn. He didn't move anything to Brooklyn. He was a small minority owner in that team. Now let's get into that even deeper. Sean Carter, aka Jay-Z, with the NBA's Brooklyn Nets, was reported to be part of 100 owners of the team at one point by Vox Media, leading to the creation of what some call the Jay-Z rule, being adopted by the NBA Board of Governors, whereby a team can have no more than 25 owners, and each must invest enough to own at least 1% of the team. Jay-Z was a small minority owner in a pool of 100 investors of the Brooklyn Nets. But how was it promoted to us? Like I stated earlier, it was promoted to us as if he solely owned the Brooklyn Nets. And all of this, as you see, is just promotion. It's just marketing. These guys own so little stake in these companies or in these basketball teams or baseball teams, where in the case of Magic Johnson and Jay-Z, yes, technically you can call them owners. But realistically, they own nothing. They call no shots. They're not going to be a part of any signing, any trading, any releasing of players. It's all marketing. their figureheads to get the population, or the populace I should say, excited about coming to Dodger games and coming to Brooklyn Nets games because Jay-Z owns the Nets. And as far as the Dodgers goes, Magic Johnson owns the Dodgers. But all of this is so dangerous and damning to the black community, because what it does is that it gets in the way of actually implementing policies that will reduce and shrink the racial wealth gap. And the reason those policies don't even come to the forefront in any real shape, form, or fashion is because everybody's operating under the illusion of black success and black progress in America because of the way it's been promoted to you by way of Diddy, Magic Johnson, Jay-Z, and a host of others. We're promoted this illusion of this black progress of all of these black business owners. Oh my God, they own these liquor companies and these sports teams. I think Usher owns the Atlanta Hawks, right? He's another minority owner. And once again, let's get back to Magic Johnson. Now, I don't have any proof to back this up, but I'm willing to bet the farm on the fact that the $50 million that Magic Johnson did invest, that he did put in on the $2 billion, I'm willing to bet the farm on the fact that that $50 million was not all Magic Johnson. I can guarantee you that, even though technically I can't guarantee you, but I can guarantee you that $50 million was not his alone. He got a couple of his friends together and they put in on the $50 million to go in on that $2 billion so that he can become part owner, and then they'll get some kickback off the interest. That's what's going on here. But he's not a real owner. And we have to stop, and we have to burst the bubble of these illusions. It's not about being a hater. I'm not a hater. I'm not mad at these brothers for doing their thing. Do what you do, get your money, whatever. That's fine. But what I am hating on, and the bubble that I do want to burst and continue bursting, is this notion, this false notion of black economic progress. Like I said in last week's episode, we are drowning and drowning badly. And if we keep wanting to live in this illusion of black progress, gentrification will never end, living under the thumb of white America as it pertains to jobs and employment and moving up in companies, that stuff never stops. White America owns 90% of the country's wealth, and it's calcified there at the top. Black Americans own 2.6%, if I'm not mistaken, of the nation's wealth. You cannot compete. You're not competing at all whatsoever. So we have to knock it off and get real with the actual state of black wealth and point out these illusions whenever they come up to the forefront. Now, the final thing I want to touch on is how powerless celebrities actually are. Because unfortunately in the black community, when you're talking about that upper echelons of black wealth, it's primarily entertainers, celebrities, rappers, basketball players, so on and so forth. But even with all the money that they have, you see these NBA players and they're signing max deals, $250 million, $300 million. And it seems like, oh my God, that is so much money and it's so much wealth. But we never think to look to the fact that if these guys, multiple players on one team, are getting max deals of $250 million or more, then how wealthy is the man that's actually signing the checks? And that's what I want to get into with this final paragraph. I want to get into the fact that celebrities as a whole, whether black or white, have no power. They're always put in front of us as people of prominence to be respected, that are movers and shakers in the world when they speak. And though it is appreciated when they voice their concerns and use their platforms for good causes, we have to understand as a people, especially black people, we have to understand that these celebrities are completely powerless in essence. Let's get into that right now. In his widely acclaimed book, Capital in the 21st Century, Thomas Piketty observed, The vast majority, 60% to 70%, depending on what definitions one chooses, of the top 0.1% of the income hierarchy in 2000 and 2010 consist of top managers. By comparison, athletes, actors, and artists of all kinds make up less than 5% of this group. In this sense, the new U.S. inequality has much more to do with the advent of super managers than with that of superstars. The financial professions, including both managers of banks and other financial institutions and trades operating on the financial markets, are about twice as common in the very high income groups as in the economy overall. This reflects a larger truth that the wealth held by those who control industry in America is far greater than the amount found in any celebrity's personal account, whether they are black or white. Therefore, a gap in wealth will not be closed through access to film, music, or sports careers. It is more likely to be found in being passed on through inheritance or in elite professions and wealth management for the rich, in the tiers of positions Piketty calls super managers, who receive super salaries. In America, these positions are overwhelmingly reserved for whites. Becoming a celebrity of any type, whether we're talking about an actor, an athlete, or a singer, will not close the racial wealth gap, not one iota. The only way it gets closed is by way of reparations. That's it. That's it. There is no other way to close that gap. So as we sit here and you celebrate Jay-Z becoming a billionaire, as it pertains at least his net worth, right? His net worth is that of $1 billion. That doesn't mean he actually has $1 billion liquid. Your net worth and how much you actually have liquid are two different things, but we're not going to get into all that right now. But I'll tell you this much: you can be worth $1 billion and only have a couple million in the bank. That's a fact. But you can be worth $1 billion. But I'm not going to go too deep into all that right now. So with all that being said, man, there is so much more to unpack on this topic, but I strongly advise you for you to get that understanding on your own outside of what I just talked about here, and hit the link in the description below to download this research paper 100% for free. You can find it on the Duke website, but I'll have the link for you below to make it simple so you don't have to do a lot of clicking and digging around. But please, please, please hit that link, download this for free on your laptop or on your cell phone. I think it's even better for you to print it out so that you can make notes for yourself and get this understanding for yourself. It's critical that you understand this so that moving forward, when it comes to election time, whether it's the national election or just kind of local elections in your city and in your state, we have to push for policies and tangibles that will reduce and shrink the racial wealth gap and stop falling for this nonsense and this fallacy of black progress that exists through celebrities and their fake ownership. That's what needs to be done. So with all that being said, I'm your boy Tony Delerme. I ain't got no more talking. Make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I drop a new video. And like I always say, most importantly to me, make sure you text tdhiphop to number 33222. That's tdhiphop to number 33222. That way you can get a direct text notification whenever I drop a new video. And also that serves as an insurance plan to me so that in case, you know, YouTube tries to Farrakhan me, I have direct access to you so I can just shoot you guys the link to where you could find me next. And also, if you want to support on a financial level to help with the advertising fund, you can hit me up on Cash App. That's $tdhiphop. And if you don't have the Cash App on your phone, I'll leave the link of that description. I'm getting tongue-tied. I'll leave the link in the description for you below so that you can hit that if you want to, and you can donate whatever amount you want in order to help with the advertising fund. I'd really appreciate that. So with all that being said, man, I ain't got no more talking. I'm your boy Tony Delerme. I'm out of here, man. Deuces.